Good afternoon. Today we are going to prepare a chicken scaloppini, which is a pounded chicken breast, so it cooks thin and crisp in your skillet. It's going to be topped with a Mediterranean Beurre Blanc sauce, a lemon and white wine. We're going to put that on a bed of lemon and herb couscous. And so we're going to do this as a family-style meal, quick and easy. You should be able to accomplish this with 2 skillets or a skillet and a pot at your house. The chicken is pounded thin so that it cooks quickly. You can cook it all the way in the skillet, or if you feel more comfortable, you can pop it in the oven for a couple minutes. All right, so we're going to prepare our couscous first because we want our couscous to sit and cook for the 10 minutes while we're cooking everything else. So we want to bring our stock, veggie, chicken, or you can just simply do water if you'd like, to a boil. All right, so the quickest way to do that is we're going to use a skillet instead of a pot. So we got our skillet, we're going to crank it all the way up, and we're going to be putting our chicken broth in there. Right. So the reason we're using a skillet instead of a pot to get our stock to a boil quickly is because it has more surface area. This will enable it to boil in a matter of a minute or 2 minutes instead of waiting 8 to 10 your normal amount of time. So we're going to bring it up to a hard boil. Then we're going to add this to our couscous, and then we're going to cover it with plastic and let it sit for 10 minutes. All right, so we've come to a hard boil. Now we're going to be moving it over and pouring it into couscous. Pour it in. You're mixing it up. Okay. And now we're going to wrap it onto our chicken scaloppini. So we have our skillet. We want to get our skillet on 30 seconds to a minute beforehand to start to warm it up. And we're going to add a couple ounces of our olive oil, or garlic oil in this case. Enough to coat the bottom. Not enough so you're shallow frying. Okay. We have taken our chicken and we have lightly dusted it in our flour. The heat that we're looking for is going to be a medium heat. You want to be able to try to cook the chicken all the way in the skillet without having to put it in the oven. That way you don't have to worry about firing the oven up. But if you're worried about it, you feel that your chicken is too thick, or you're worried about pounding it out because it's going to fall apart, you can put it on a cookie sheet tray, pop it right in the oven 5-6 minutes while you're finishing off your sauce, and then pull it out and it'll all be done together. So you're going to take a little pinch of flour and you're going to drop that into your oil. And if you get the reaction, a bubbling reaction, then you know it's going to be warm enough for you to start. I'm going to go for just a little bit longer. All right, when you lay your chicken, you want to make sure that you lay your chicken away from you so that it does not splash any of the oil on you. So you're watching the exterior of your chicken. As your chicken will start to cook, around the outside, your edges will start to brown and they'll lose the transparency that they basically have in a raw state. Okay. You're also watching the amount of bubbles that's happening in your pan to determine how high you want your heat. Okay. So once you come up to where your oil is really rolling, we're going to turn that down to a medium low. Okay. So that we can get our chicken cooked all the way through. Now you can put more in, or you could cut your chicken down to a smaller portion if you'd like, if you feel better about that. We're going to pan sear our chicken in 2 batches, and then we'll start on our. So as your chicken cooks, you'll start to see that the outside is going to start to get more white. What we're looking for is to start to see that brown on the tips. Now, if your skillet is uneven and you start to see hot spots, make sure that you're moving your chicken around in order to adjust so that you don't have one piece that's going to be really dark and one piece that's light. So we're almost there. You see how the white's coming all the way up around. You start to see peeking through the middle of the chicken. You can always tell where your thicker parts are because they're reacting a little bit less. Now, as your chicken cooks, it will start to firm, so you can actually feel the chicken and feel how firm it will be. almost there on this first round, and then we'll get our second two in. All right. So add a little bit more oil to our sauce. Judge how much oil is still in your skillet. You just want about 1.5 tablespoons or so in here for us to make our pan sauce. Okay. What we're truly making is a pan sauce. We're using the drippings from the actual chicken to make this. So our first thing going in is a tablespoon of garlic. And then we're going to have 2 ounces worth of yellow onions. And to that right now, we're going to be adding our zucchini. I like to add the zucchini in early, because I like to get a little bit more color on the zucchini. We have our skillet on high heat when we're making our pan sauce. Okay. We're going to get a little bit of caramelization in our onions, our garlic, and our zucchini. A little pinch more oil. Now we're going to go in with our artichoke hearts. 8 ounces artichoke hearts. Our Kalamata olives. We're going to hit it with our lemon juice, some acidity and some pop to it. A little bit of our white wine. And we're going to let this cook down. And we're going to fluff our couscous. So you're just going to come in down the sides of your bowl, and you're going to gently lift, okay, breaking up any of the clumps of couscous that you have in there. Okay. And get light and fluffy. Alright, so we have our fresh herbs. It's a big key. Okay, so we're going to add our fresh herbs in. We're going to add our 2 ounces of freshly squeezed lemon juice. And then I have a microplane. And I'm going to microplane in some fresh lemon zest. Just a little bit. Don't get too deep because you don't want to get into the pith of the lemon, because then it'll get bitter. So a little bit of that in there. Then we got a little pinch of salt, a little pinch of pepper, and we are going to put all that together. Smell nice, lemony, fresh, herbs popping. Okay. So we're ready for that. All right, we're going to go back to finish our sauce. Okay, so our sauce is reducing down. We're going to take our sauce down to what they call sec. Sec means almost dry. So if you bring your solids to it and your liquid doesn't roll back to the front to where you need to be. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start adding in our last of our fresh ingredients, our tomatoes. Okay, we're going to add a little bit of our parsley now. We're going to use a little bit to garnish. Okay? So we're going to toss this together just enough to heat the tomatoes through, and then we're going to start using our butter. Now, when you're going to butter out your sauce, your heat has to be off. You're going to let the heat from the actual ingredients be melting the butter, okay, in order to make your butter sauce. Okay? All right, so our heat's going to get turned off now, and we're going going to start adding in our butter. Okay. I'm going to do them in small chunks, that way it melts more evenly. So you start to get a richness and a creaminess as the butter fat solids come out. Chicken. Okay, so now we have all of our ingredients ready to go. So we have our lemon and herb couscous, we have our chicken breast, and we have our sauce. So we're going to plate this family style. Okay. Now when I make this, a normal portion of dried couscous per person is 4 ounces. So I do a little more than that because my children devour couscous. So I usually do double that. Okay? We got our portion of couscous there. We have our chicken breast. We'll take our chicken breast. And then we have our finishing sauce. We're going to go right down the middle over the top of everything. And then we're going to finish with some fresh parsley. And there you have it.